February 1st, the first of the month, 2026. Today we're going to start chapter 15, Wise Reflection, Analytical Analysis. This is the forerunners of the Majjhima Patipata, the middle way. Now in chapter 13, we talked about the initial state of practice. One, by using skillful words of others and cultivating virtuous friendship. Now today we're going to talk about the initial stage of practice 2, Yoniso-manasikāra, wise reflection, analytical analysis, sound judgment. 15.1, the role of reflection in a wholesome way of life, pages 1405 to page 1410. Buddha Dhamma, section 4, a worthy life, compiled by Somdet Pra Buddha Gosa Acharya, English name P.A. Payutto. Chapter 15 of Wise Reflection, as the forerunners of the Majjhima Patipata, the middle way. 15.1, a wholesome way of life. For people to find true happiness, they must live their lives correctly and relate to things properly, including their own personal lives, their society, technology, and their natural environment. Those people who live their lives correctly experience a personal happiness inherently conducive to the happiness of others. The expressions to live one's life correctly or to relate to all things properly is a general or undetailed reference to spiritual practice. For a clearer description, one must separate and distinguish correct practice into various minor activities and examine many aspects of one's personal life. It is useful, therefore, to describe the different parts of spiritual practice, which together comprises the entirety of one's life, correctly. Hereby one defines the subtleties of living correctly, revealing the different aspects of proper practice. From one perspective, to live one's life is to struggle for survival, to try and escape from oppressive, obstructive forces, and to discover a sense of well-being. In brief, this aspect to life is the solving of problems, or the ending of dukkha, suffering. Those people who are able to solve and escape from problems correctly reach true success in life and live free from dukkha, free from stress and suffering. Therefore, to live correctly and with success can be defined as the ability to solve problems. From another perspective, to live one's life is to engage in various activities, manifesting as different forms of physical and verbal behavior. When such activity is not expressed outwardly, then it manifests internally as mental behavior. This refers to the acts of body, the acts of speech, and the acts of mind, which are technically referred to as intention, volitional physical actions, kaya, kamma. Verbal action, vacha, kamma, and mental actions, mano, kamma. Collectively, they are referred to as kamma, the state of action by way of the three doors, datwara. From this perspective of life consists of engaging in these three kinds of actions. Those people who perform these three actions correctly live their lives well. Therefore, to live correctly with success can be defined as knowing how to act, knowing how to speak, and knowing how to think. To be skilled at performing physical actions, including one's work and profession, speaking or communication in general, and in thinking. From yet another perspective, an analysis of human life reveals that it consists of various forms of cognition, of experiencing objects of awareness, or a sense stimuli, which are collectively referred as the sense objects, aramana. Aramana, the sense impressions pass through or manifest by way of ayatana, the six sense bases, or the sixth sense door, by way of the eye, by way of the ear, by way of the nose, by way of the tongue, by way of the body, and cognition by way of the mind. The receiving of these sense impression, aramana, consists of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, contact, and tactile impressions, and cognization with the mind. Objects, to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to feel physical feelings, and to think. The response and attitudes of people in regard to cognition of these sense stimuli, aramana, has a critical bearing on their lives, on their conduct, and then on their fortune. If they respond to sense impressions solely with delight and aversion, with likes and dislikes and chains of distress is set in motion. If they respond in the manner of recording information, however, and seeing things according to the truth, satcha, seeing things according to cause and effects, karma, causality, causes and conditions, it will go in the direction of panya, wisdom, and towards true solution to problems. A factor that is no less vital than the response and attitude towards sense impression is the ability to select sense objects. Take the example of one may incline towards and choose to listen to and watch those things which gratify desire, or one may choose to listen to and observe those things that support wisdom and enhance the quality of mind. From this perspective, to live correctly and successfully can be defined as knowing how to receive and select sense impressions. To be skilled at hearing, to be skilled at seeing, to be skilled at smelling, to be skilled at tasting, to be skilled at contacting with objects, and to be skilled at cognitions of thinking. This is one more perspective to take into consideration. One way to describe human life is to highlight the engagement and relationship to phenomenon in order to derive benefits from these things. For most people, the consumption of enjoyment of sense pleasures plays a very significant role. When engaging with people or things in their surroundings, whether this is their society or their natural environment, most people seek to derive some kind of benefit or advantage from them in order to satisfy their wishes or to gratify their desires. In other words, when they wish to satisfy desires, they go out and engage with those people and things. The preceding factor of looking at life at the process of cognitions contain two aspects. One is that of pure cognition, say of seeing and hearing, and that of engagement, say of looking and listening. The skill of receiving and selecting sense impressions, a skill at seeing and hearing, is related to this factor of engagement. To engage with or to consume things properly is a vital factor in determining and shaping a person's life in a degree of sukha, happiness. Therefore, to live correctly and successfully can be defined as being skilled in engaging with and relating to things. In the context of society, this refers to knowing how to relate and associate with other people. In the context of material things in the natural environment, this refers to knowing how to use and consume things properly. In summary, a correct and successful way of life encompasses several subsidiary forms of behavior and is comprised of various aspects, notably, from the perspective of escaping from problems, one is skilled at solving them. From the perspective of performing actions, one is skilled at thinking, one is skilled at speaking or communicating, and performing physical deeds. From the perspective of receiving sense impressions, one is skilled at seeing, listening, smelling, tasting, contacting tactile impressions, and thinking. From the perspective of engagement or consumption, one is skilled at using and consuming things and at relating to other people. To practice these various aspects of life properly is referred to as living one's life correctly, knowing how to live, or being skilled at conducting one's life. According to the Buddha Dhamma, a life lived in such a manner is considered a virtuous life. These various aspects of life or aspects of spiritual practice can be summed up by the phrase, knowing how to think, or being skilled at reflection. They all involve the process of thinking, which is the vital factor for one's life living correctly. Thinking plays an important role on many levels. This includes, in the context of cognition, thinking is the meaning point, where various information and data gathered and assembles is where the data is analyzed, shaped, and applied. In the context of intention or volitional action, thinking is the starting point, which leads to outward, verbal, and physical expressions. To speech and physical actions, moreover, it is the command center, which determines or controls speech and physical deeds according to one's thoughts. In the relations to these two forms of behavior, thinking is the center point. It is linked between cognition and intention, volitional actions, which one experiences things by way of the sense basis, ayatana, and then gathers, processes, and analyzes this sense data. Thinking dictates the consequent or the sequence, outwards expressions of speech and physical actions. In summary, correct thinking, or the skill of reflection, is the seat of administration in regard to correct living in its entirety. It is the leader, the guide, the director for all other aspects of right practice, samatha. When one is able to think correctly, one is also able to speak correctly, act correctly, and solve problems correctly. One is skilled at seeing, hearing, eating, using material things, consuming things, and associating with others. One is skilled at living. A skill in thinking and reflection leads to a virtuous life. A decisive factor determining a person's skill in regard to intention or volitional action is spiritual balance. Generally speaking, in the context, the terms skill and balance have the same meaning. To act skillfully is to act in a correct, even way, giving rise to desired results according to one's intentions and objectives. One acts in a way that is accurate, coherent, direct, consistent, enabling one to reach one's goal in the most optimum way without creating any kinds of harm or faults. In the context of reaching one's goal, the Buddhist teaching gives great emphasis to the characteristics of faultlessness, freedom from affliction, and suitability, the meaning of which are encompassed in the word spiritual balance. Thus, the term skill in conducting one's life can be defined as living a balanced life, to live with moderation and in a suitable way in order to attain the goal of life in a true, blameless, and joyful manner. The technical term for a life of balance, for suitable practice, or for a virtuous life is the middle way, Majjhima Patipata, or the verb form Majjhima Patipati, which refers to the path, Magga. The noble eightfold path, the middle way, is the virtuous, sublime way of life, free from harm, free from affliction, leading to utter safety and complete sukha, happiness. Buddha Dhamma teaches that in order to live correctly or to lead a virtuous life, one must pass through the process of spiritual training and study. One can say that the path arises as the results of spiritual training. Just as skillful reflection is the guiding principle of a virtuous life or of the path, so too, cultivating one's skill in the area of thinking is the leading factor in formal spiritual training, sikha. In this aspect, the three training, Siko Sikha, Traisika, we could also say. Within the process of spiritual training, developing a skill in reflection leads to correct understanding, correct ideas, even correct beliefs, which are collectively referred as samadhi, right view, which is the mainstay of virtuous life in its entirety. The cultivation of samadhi, right view, is the gift of panya development, wisdom development, which is the heart of the spiritual training. A skill in reflection involves many methods of thinking and analysis. Developing such skill in reflecting is a unique form of spiritual training and cultivations. This is the end of 15.1, Introduction.